What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. So let's talk about the New York Giants first. In the first round, they took edge rusher Abdul Carter, didn't really overthink that one. And then later in the first round, they traded up from their early second round selection up to number 25 overall to draft Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. Third round, Darius Alexander, the defensive lineman from Toledo. Fourth round, Cam Scadaboo, the running back from Arizona State. Fifth round, Marcus Bowe, the offensive tackle from Purdue. And then in the seventh round, Thomas Fidone, the tight end from Nebraska, and then Corey Black, the corner from Oklahoma State, excuse me. Our staff gave this one an A-. What do you think about this one, Dalton?
I think our staff we're kind of hedging a little bit, because I think the opinions on Jackson Dart are so divisive that if you like Dart and you like the fact that they traded up for him, you probably give it an A or an A+. And if you're not a huge fan of Dart, then maybe this goes down to a B or a B+, right? I think, and that's kind of representative of how this class is going to go. Look, Abdul Carter is going to be good. He's a freak of nature. There's a reason the Micah Parsons comps are out there. I really like the Darius Alexander pick to get another run stopper next to Dexter Lawrence. I think Cam Scadaboo could start for them at running back very, very soon. Marcus Bowe is a good developmental O-lineman to have. It just comes down to the variance of Dart and whether or not he can be the franchise quarterback, and we're not going to know that for 2, if not 3 years, right? And this year, they're hoping he can sit behind Russell Wilson. Russ can start week 1. You don't have to rush Dart in there while he learns how to play under center, while he learns how to play in an NFL offense, because what he ran at Ole Miss was just not an NFL offense. It was no huddle. They were chucking the ball downfield. He had almost a 12-yard average depth of target, which just does not fly in the NFL, right? So I think there's a lot for him to learn. Even at the Senior Bowl, it felt like he was uncomfortable taking snaps under center. So there's some development to be had there with Jackson Dart. I think it's still smart to start Russell Wilson week 1 and let Dart sit and watch and get the footwork and everything he needs to get going in Brian Daboll's offense. And I think that's really, aside from Carter, that's how a lot of people are going to judge this Giants draft, is the success of Jackson Dart and whether or not Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen pretty much saved their jobs by making that trade.
Yeah, I do like all these selections. The Dart one is obviously a risk. I'm not as big of a fan of Jackson Dart going to the NFL as others are. He was ranked below 100 on my big board. I saw him as more of an early 4th-round pick, understanding that quarterback normally gets a bump. Anywhere from like the 3rd round, I would have been okay with. Early 3rd round, I would have understood. Late 1st round is rich for me, but again, it's the bet that you kind of have to take. And I've said this before throughout the offseason. I kind of feel bad for the Giants. I do. And I understand that they're the ones who put them in this situation, but by all accounts, they were in on the Matthew Stafford market. They probably reached out about Geno Smith. They tried to get these other. I'm sure that they were, gauging the interest of Sam Darnold, and he probably didn't want to go to New York. So instead, they signed Russell Wilson, they signed Jameis Winston, and now they're trying to make a splash at quarterback. They also, we were told that people were trying to trade up to number 1 overall with the Titans, and that the Giants, I think, were one of those teams that were in the mix to do that. So they have tried. They really have. And so I don't want to knock them too much, because they're still trying. And you have to, honestly, in this league, until you have a guy that you can believe in. I'm glad that they didn't overthink it at number 3, and they took the player that, like you said, has Micah Parsons comps. Take that player at number 3 overall. I like that they drafted Darius Alexander. I think certainly with Abdul Carter now in the mix there, that's one hell of a defensive line that you have in New York. Love Cam Scadaboo in this spot. I think the smash and dash 1 and 2 combo with him and Tyrone Tracy, I think is going to be excellent for this team. I think that Marcus Bowe could be an excellent center in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to play tackle. I don't know if he's got the anchor to be able to play tackle one-on-one on an island in the league, but man, I think he could be excellent as a center. And then you look at the 2 guys that they drafted later in the draft as well, Thomas Fidone and Corey Black. I think that both of these guys are great depth players, good special teams players, good athletes to bet on. So I really did like this class, and I agree with you. It's a little bit of a hedge. You say an A-. I'd probably give it somewhere around like a B, B+, because I like every other pick other than the Jackson Dart one. I'm a little wary on it just because I didn't love him overall as a quarterback prospect, but I can at least get it. I can understand why the pick was made. And so Probably getting like a B plus from me. If you love Jackson Dart, like you said, it's probably an AA plus because the rest of the draft I thought they navigated very well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the funniest part is the one pick that we question is the one that's going to decide the fate of those two guys' jobs. So we'll see. The Giants, look, they've been fishing for a quarterback. It didn't work with Daniel Jones. They took maybe a little bit too long to get off the Eli Manning boat. Back in the day, they're having similar issues to the Saints and the Steelers and teams like that. But if that hits, it's going to hit because they've got Scatterboo, you got Tyrone Tracy, you've got Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, those guys outside. I think, the offensive line, that's the only thing I would say, too. Bo is kind of that ball of clay that I wouldn't start on the offensive line right away. Maybe could have gone offensive line earlier, but this draft is eventually going to be judged by Jackson Dart and his performance.